Hi, I'm Shawn Morrissey. I want to share my story with you about homelessness, my homelessness, and trauma. I became homeless in 2000. I was almost 40 years old. I'd never planned on being homeless. That was never part of my kind of life plan. I later identified the origin of my drug use, which started at 12 years of age, as an attempt to soothe all of that trauma that I was experiencing. And even later than that, learned how early trauma, prolonged stressors in childhood affects the growth of the brain and actually has a direct influence on the types of life and personal choices we end up making as adults. In 2000, I became sober. I had no supports in place. It was suggested that I get into drug and alcohol treatment, which I didn't think was the greatest idea, but I tried anyway, and I spent the next 2 years trying to get into treatment. And that was my first experience with how barrier-ridden and inaccessible drug and alcohol treatment is and was. Again, I spent almost 2 years calling places. At that point, you had to prove that you wanted to get in to get clean and sober, not necessarily because you were homeless and wanted to get off the street. You had to call every day. If you missed a call, you were sent to the back of the line and you had to start all over again. Typically, getting an inpatient detox was about 6 weeks long, and getting an inpatient bed could be 8 weeks long. That hasn't changed much in 2020. And I gave up after a while, and I just kind of was resigned to the fact that this was how I was going to die. In 2002, a friend of mine, a buddy who had been showing up, a lifelong friend who had been showing up over the past couple years that I was homeless and offering help, showed up one day, and that day I was out of resources. I didn't have $1.95 to buy a cheap half pint of vodka that was the thing that would kickstart my day. And in a moment of clarity or weakness or defeat, I accepted help, and he drove me to Pasadena, dropped me off at the shelter at Union Station Homeless Services, and they took mercy upon me, and they offered me the thing that I had not had in my life for so long, which was love, nurture, positive regard, respect for me as a human being. They gave me a place to sleep, they gave me food, they helped me get into inpatient treatment, and that began my path and journey toward wellness. And about a year and a half after that, I was offered a position at Union Station as a case manager, and I worked at their homeless access center from 2004 to 2008, helping folks and learning a whole bunch and trying to give back, and learning about systemic and structural barriers and impediments, the things that really do cause homelessness. I always say that we have mistaken for too long the people who are experiencing the problem as having created the problem, and that's definitely not the case. This is a lack of resources and accessibility. I then, from 2008 to 2015, went and mentored under a woman named Molly Lowry, who was a pioneer in homeless services. She founded Lamp Community down on Skid Row, and I learned a whole bunch of stuff about housing first, and I unlearned a whole bunch of stuff that I had learned in school about drug and alcohol treatment. And in 2015, I took all of that back to Union Station, where we created housing first projects and initiatives that had been going on for years. And I am now the director of Advocacy and Community Engagement with Union Station. I love my job. I love that I'm able to give some of what I got, and that's my story of homelessness. I'm Shawn Morrissey. I'm your neighbor.